Hey guys, welcome back to Valareso Capital. On this video, we're gonna go through the weekend update video, and we're also gonna go through the weekly watch list. The reason we're gonna do that is because I decided to combine both the weekend update and the weekly watch list on just one video, so that way you can have a better understanding of the market update and also of the names that I'm gonna be watching for the week. I used to have these videos on separate files, so I used to upload the weekly watch list on Mondays, but I decided to join both of the videos together. That way you can have a concise analysis of everything that you need in order to get ahead for the week of trading. So what are we going to cover in this video? We're going to cover some of the main indexes. We're going to go through the price action that we have seen in many of the names that we usually cover in this channel. We're going to go through the SPY, through the Qs, through the IWM, and I also want to take a look at some other ETFs such as the ARK and also the SMH, and then we're going to go through the weekly watch list. We're going to go through 4 names. We're going to go through CRDO. We're also going to cover AEHR and also some other names that I'm going to share with you. So if you want to know what those names are and also what the analysis is for the week, make sure to stick all the way to the end of this video. So let's just start right with the price analysis. And what a week, right? What a week, what a month, what a start of the year. So I'm sure that many of you guys are doing pretty well in this market. It has been actually a pretty easy month in comparison to what we had basically for the entire year of 2022. So this is actually pretty encouraging. A lot of people are making a lot of money. You can see that on FinTweet. You can see that basically all over social media, people making a lot of money in this crazy move that we had to the upside. So the first thing that we have to understand is that moves don't last forever. At some point, we're gonna see a sharp pullback, and probably a pullback that lasts more than just a couple of minutes, right? Because what we have seen in the SPY, and I have the SPY right here, you can see basically that many of the intraday pullbacks that we had, right, have been bought. Right, many of the intraday pullbacks that we had been bought instantly. So basically, if you were down by the morning, in the afternoon you were already up. So that's kind of an easy market, and that's actually the characteristics of a bull market. So that's actually pretty good. It has been a while since we had that kind of price action, but what is really important is to understand what are the levels and what is the environment that we are seeing. So the environment is 100% bullish, but now let's go through the levels. So the first level that I want to cover with, and we're going to take a look at the ES, which is the futures contracts for the SPY. I want to cover this very important level of basically 4,180. So what I want to cover about this level is that this level was the previous level of resistance that we saw in December 2022. Why is this level important? Because remember that on this day, we had that CPI report that was actually pretty bullish for the market, but price was instantly rejected from that level, and then we saw a very strong correction to the downside. That correction ended up being bought, right? We saw some consolidation, and then we saw the continuation to the upside, but we want to be aware that now we're retesting those levels. Usually what happens, especially after a very strong move from the downside all the way to that level, usually we see a little bit of consolidation. We also have the probability of seeing a pullback. So what are the levels that we're going to share with you in this video? So the first level is going to be this level of resistance, which is 4,180. That's going to be the first level of resistance. What are going to be the first levels of support? The first level of support is going to be 4,100. That's going to be the first level of support, and you can see that we have the 8 exponential moving average right there, and we also have this very strong level, which is the Voodoo line fire line. This is an indicator that I tend to use. Is basically just a combination of Fibonacci and some wave analysis, and this indicator was created by David Starr, and it's basically it just covers some very important levels in the market, and if you don't have it, you don't necessarily need it, but I have found it to be very beneficial. You can see that it acted as a very important level of resistance in the past, and now that we are above it, we should expect to see some support if we happen to retest that level. Now, what is the next level that I'm going to be watching? And actually the most important level, in my opinion, is going to be the 21 exponential moving average. The 21 exponential moving average, you can see that has served as support many times already. And I'm expecting that we're going to see a pullback into that level of support. Now, what is the expectation when we see that pullback? Because that's the most important thing. The most important thing is that I'm expecting that pullback to be bought. Why I'm expecting that pullback to be bought? Because everything in my indicators and everything in price action is pretty bullish, right? You can see that my indicators are green. You can see that the trend oscillator is above the midline, is above the EMA, and you can see that the TTM squeeze is well above the zero line. So that's actually pretty bullish. And then you can see the price action has been pretty strong. So the level that I'm going to be watching more closely is that 21 exponential moving average. And remember that the 21 exponential moving average is a moving target. So any pullback around, I'm probably going to be looking at 4,050. That's probably going to be the most important level in the SPY. And that's my expectation for next week. Now, what I want to cover, let's take a look at the RTY. And the RTY is going to be the Russell, right? And I think that the Russell is one of the strongest indexes that we have right now. Why I'm calling this one of the strongest indexes is basically because we have this very nice cup and handle breakout. You can see that we have the cup, we have the handle, and then we have that very strong breakout to the upside. And everything was looking pretty good. You can see that the trend oscillator is making higher highs and is also making higher lows, which is actually pretty bullish. You want to see that momentum going with price, right? You can see that we are making higher lows in price as well, and you can see that the TTM squeeze, the TTM squeeze, the oscillator in the TTM squeeze is also way above zero. So my expectation is that right now that we're pretty extended, right? You can see that we actually met the second standard deviation for the week. You can see that we stopped right there at the RTY. The expectation is going to be the same. The expectation is going to be a reversion all the way back to that 21 exponential. Now, are we going to see that the first day of the next week? I don't know, but it will be actually pretty cool to see that 21 and that trend line acting as a possible level of support if we happen to move pretty rapidly to test those levels. And also you can see that we have this breakout level. So if we happen to have that breakout level plus the trend line and plus the 21 exponential, I think that's going to be a pretty high probability pullback buy if we happen to get that opportunity next week. So that's going to be for the RTY. And then finally, let's take a look at the NQ. And what a move that we had in the NQ, right? You can see that we actually had a pretty strong breakout above this level. And you can see that this is different from the SPY, right? You can see that the SPY is testing this high of December. But in the case of the NQ, we actually broke above that level. So that's actually pretty bullish. And what is really interesting is that bulls were capable of pushing the price all the way to the upside above that 200 daily moving average. And now you can see that the 21 exponential moving average is starting to catch up with price. If we happen to see that cross of the 21 exponential and the 200 daily moving average, that's basically the first time that we're going to see that happening basically since this bear market started. So that's actually going to be pretty bullish price action in the NQ. So if we happen to see that, I think that a pullback all the way down there, I don't know if we're gonna see that. If we happen to see that, that's gonna be an amazing opportunity to get some bullish exposure. But we have to be aware that this level can also act as a very important level of support. So basically, the levels that I'm gonna share in the NQ are going to be this breakout level, which is somewhere around 12,400. That's going to be the breakout level. And then, of course, that 21 exponential moving average. And that 21 exponential moving average is going to be my favorite spot to get some exposure in the NQ. Now, let's take a look at ARC. We're going to take a look at ARC, and we're also going to take a look at SMH. And what is actually pretty interesting is in ARC, I think ARC has been one of the most bullish ETFs, I think, right? You can see that basically the move that we saw is somewhere around 50% for the year. So that's actually pretty strong. So when we tend to see this kind of moves, it tends to coincide a lot with short covering, right? So you can see that the bulls are buying and also the shorts are covering, and then you kind of get these very strong moves to the upside. So that's gonna be ARC, and the levels that I'm going to share with you are going to be this breakout level that we had somewhere around 4150. That's going to be the breakout level for ARC. You can see that we're really extended. We're actually at that 1272 extension measured from this high to this low right here. And you can see that price is all the way at that level. So some kind of pullback is actually going to be pretty beneficial. Probably we're going to see some support at that 200 daily moving average, but the EMA that I'm actually looking at is going to be that 21 exponential moving average. And just remember that the 21 exponential moving average is a moving target, and if price decides to basically to hold around these levels, then the 21 exponential moving average will most likely start to move a little bit to the upside, and then probably it's going to coincide with that 200 daily moving average. So it's going to be for ARC. And then let's take a look at SMH. And what is really interesting in SMH is that we actually had a pretty strong move as well, right? You can see right here that we had this top right here that we had on December. We actually exceeded that top. So now the expectation is that since this was previous resistance, meaning that it was previous supply, now I'm expecting that to be now the expectation is that to act as support, because now we're most likely to have demand. So right now you can see that everything is right? The trend oscillator is very bullish. The TTM squeeze is very bullish. And now the thing is that we got very extended in the week, right? We got to that second standard deviation. And now the question is, where are we going to see the pullback? So the pullback as well is going to be right into that first level of supply, which is going to be somewhere around 235. And then of course, I want to see that 21 exponential moving average going into that level. So if we happen to see that pullback in the SMH, I think that's going to be a pretty interesting buy the dip opportunity for a continuation into the next extension at 258. That's going to be for the SMH. And now let's take a look at the watch list, right? Let's take a look at the weekly watch list. So basically the action that we have seen has been very, very strong. And now the expectation is to see some continuation after some kind of pullback or some kind of consolidation in the indexes. So the first name that I have in the weekly watch list is going to be CRDO. This has been a very, very strong name that we have been watching for a while. And it moved pretty fast, right? You can see that we had that breakout from this base right here. You can see the cup and handle. You can see the handle here. Then you can see that we had the strong breakout. And now the expectation is to see some kind of consolidation or some kind of pullback. You can also see that we are already at the 1618 extension measured from this high to this low right here. So you can see that price got a little bit above it, but I'm expecting a little bit of pullback. So what is really interesting and what I want to show in this video is a very important concept of how price tends to top. So let's just take a look here, right? So here you can see CRDO, right? You can see this swing that we had right here, and this swing was somewhere around 1771. So you can see that we had that swing, and now you can see that we had a pullback, right? A pullback right into that 8 exponential moving average. And now you can see that we had some more buying, but that buying is coming right here, right? It's peaking right above that level of 1770, right? Now, if we happen to see price dropping below 1770 again, then we have the kind of the start of a little bit of a pausing action, because you can see that the people that bought this breakout, this late breakout, are going to be trapped, and most likely if they are trapped, we most likely are going to see a sharp pullback, because all those people are going to have the stops triggered. So that's actually a pretty interesting concept. Just be aware that if we happen to drop below this level, the psychology behind that move is that these people are going to get trapped, and we're going to see a sharp pullback into the first level of resistance, and that first level of resistance is going to be that 21 exponential moving average. What I really like about this setup, besides that, is that this low that we had right here is about to coincide with that 21 exponential moving average. So if we happen to see that pullback into that 21 exponential moving average and into this level right here, I think that's going to be the opportunity to get some exposure on CRDO, and then see if we get some kind of some kind of continuation. But this is going to be a really nice risk reward entry. So that's going to be for CRDO. Now let's take a look at AEHR. And what is really interesting here is that it's kind of a similar setup, right? Very, very similar setup. You can see that we have the breakout. You can see that we kind of have this flagging pattern right above that breakout level. You can see that we have earnings, then we have the catalyst, and then we have the continuation to the upside. Now, what I want you to take a look here is that we are starting to form a little bit of a double top. Why do I call this a double top? And not exactly a double top that is going to end in AEHR going all the way to the downside, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a very short-term double top. Why? Because you can see that price actually make a higher high, got rejected, but you can see that momentum was already making a lower high. So when we have these divergences between price and between momentum, that means that the move that we're seeing is starting to lose power. And when that happens, that means that we have not the same amount of willing buyers at these levels. And that tends to lead to some pullback and more consolidation in the price. So the expectation is going to be pretty similar. I'm expecting to see some pullback, and it's really interesting that in this name the same thing is happening similar to CRDO, right? We're seeing that this low right here is starting to coincide with that 21 exponential moving average. So if we happen to see a pullback somewhere around this level, which is going to be somewhere around 32, then that is probably going to be the opportunity to buy this name in a low risk reward setup, and then see if we get some continuation to the upside. So that's going to be the name for AEHR. And then let's take a look at GDX. And what happened in GDX is a perfect example of what I'm seeing in CRDO. And so let me show you this version of the price action so that you can understand it. So you can see right here, right, GDX, right, you can see that we had this breakout, we had the move up, then we have the pullback, then we have the move up. But this is the very important part. You can see that this was the breakout, right? The breakout was right above 32.75. We have the breakout, but then you can see that price, you can see that the people that bought that candle got trapped. Then we had price move below that price, and then you can see that we had a rally back to retest that level, and then we got rejected. So that's something really important, because you can see that this is the bull trap, and then when price tries to get above this level once again, it gets rejected and it moves back to the downside. So that's actually pretty important, and that's kind of the thing that I'm seeing in CRDO, right? So that's something that you can keep on your trading tools. So the setup in GDX is pretty straightforward. You can see that we're coming right into that 50 daily moving average. You can see that the trend oscillator is coming into support, and we have a squeeze. So basically the setup in GDX is buying the pullback, and let's see if we get some kind of relief bounce into these levels of resistance right here. And then the final name is going to be the XLE, and this is basically the only short name that I'm watching for next week. You can see this is actually a pretty straightforward example as well. You can see that we have the squeeze, we have the trend oscillator moving below the midline, and you can see that we lost this very important level of structure. We lost the 21 exponential moving average. Price is moving pretty rapidly to the downside, and it actually offered an entry at that 50 daily moving average on Friday. And then the expectation is to see if we actually get some kind of retest of these lows right here. So that's gonna be basically it for the video, guys. In this video, we actually went through the indexes, and we also check out some of the names that I'm gonna be watching for next week. And I think that this is everything that you need to know in order to have already an edge for next week, right? You don't need to see all the indicators, you don't need to see all the sentiment indicators, all the names in the market. You just need to see the big picture, which includes the S&P and the QQQs, and then you just need to have a list of names and ideas that you are going to execute if we happen to reach certain levels in the market. So once again, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and also follow me on my Twitter account at Valareso Capital. Thank you so much, guys, and I see you on future videos. Bye bye.